All right, guys, I know it's been a while since I posted, the longest in a little bit here. Went on vacation with my family and had a fantastic time. Got to spend some time with my older brother and stuff that I don't get to spend a lot of time with. So that was really, really fantastic for me. But back to the normal grind of things. The Mustang. All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Looks like I got some dirt on my forehead. There we go. So the correct torque converter is here now. So we are going to put a little bit of fluid in there and then try to put it in the transmission and make sure that it works. We're gonna use good old Type F. Here's the new converter. And we're gonna go ahead and pre-fill it a little bit. It does look like there's some in there, but I don't think that's very much, so we're gonna pre-fill it here. Let's see if I can do this on camera. Do this one-handed. The goal is to not make a mess. I want to put this whole cord in there. Maybe. Just kind of watching and seeing what it's doing. I'm kind of thinking 1 quart of pre-fill is enough. But I've also never worked on automatic transmissions before, so don't take my advice for it. Okay, so that is officially fully seated all the way in there, just like it should be. There's enough room for the flex plate in there, so that's perfect. Now we can get to actually installing the transmission. I'm working hard. I want to get this transmission in. I'm super excited. So it's like 2 in the morning. I just got off work and I'm ready to stuff this transmission in. All right, so I do apologize about the wind noise, if there is any, but I've realized that I ran into a few things here. The bolts I have are not long enough, even with taking the lock washers off. So I'm gonna have to get some new bolts. And then this plate that I had with the manual trans does not line up with the automatic trans. I was under the assumption that they were the same. apparently they're not. You can see this starter bolt hole is in a different location in both spots. So I'm gonna have to look at that and see what I can do. This ground here goes on the starter spot. But yeah, that's not gonna work. But I'll continue mounting the trans in there and seeing what I can do. I'm also realizing too that this block plate that I have it doesn't have an opening on the bottom for you to put the torque converter bolts in. So I kind of feel like I did all that for nothing, but at the same time, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have known all that stuff. So I gotta pull the trans back out, pull the flex plate back off, and pull the block plate off and change it. That, or I'm gonna break out the cutoff wheel and cut torque converter access, and then do some stuff that I probably shouldn't do. But it just has to shim the starter, so maybe I can get away with just making this one work. While the transmission's in, I'm going to go ahead and try and install the drive shaft and make sure that that fits and looks pretty good and sits roughly in the same spot as the manual trans. Okay, so I don't have it bolted up, but it fits. Sorry about the wind noise here. Fits just like the manual trans. So that's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and take it back out. What's going on, guys? So of course there's a cricket in here making noise, but I got some block plates to try, and we're gonna have to pull the trans back out, pull the clutch, or not the clutch, goodness gracious, I'm too used to having a stick. I have to pull the flex plate back off and swap out the block plates. But before I do that, I'll test fit it on the transmission and see which one fits the best. Okay, I got the right plate on now, and the flywheel is on. I just have to torque these bolts real quick, which I'll just do off camera real quick. And then you can see I've got, hold on, my lens is dirty. That's a little bit better. I've got torque converter access here. I lined up the plate on the transmission and the starter bolts are correct. So this is gonna work out perfect. All right, so I got the bolts all torqued up on the flex plate, and I went ahead and looked through my bolt bin for some bolts for the torque converter, and I found some bolts, but they're too long. So we're gonna have to make a quick run to the hardware store and get the correct bolts so we can bolt up the torque converter once I get the trans back installed. And I also need to get some new transmission mount bolts because the ones I have are too short for the automatic. They work good for the stick, but they're too short for the automatic. So just got to run and get some bolts. All right, I'm back. Got some bolts. Let's get to stuffing this stuff together. All right, I'm a little sweaty, but starter's in, trans is in. Other than a couple bolts, I'm gonna do off camera. I got a couple of the grounds reattached. I still gotta tighten up the crossmember bolts and put the drive shaft in, and then also put the torque converter bolts through the flywheel. So I'm gonna do a bunch of that off camera. All right, folks, I'm just gonna have to end this video here. Rule of thumb, don't cheap out on parts. I mean, that should be common sense anyway. I found this flex plate and it looked like a decent flex plate, but the proper hole right here, I fought the flywheel or the flex plate bolts to the crank because they had one hole that was slightly off, and so I had to kind of drill that one slightly bigger to make it work. I'm having the same issue with the torque converter mounting holes. It's just slightly off, you can't get the bolt in. So now I'm gonna have to find a way to drill this, and I really don't want to pull the trans back out to do it, but I might have to. So I'm just gonna end the video here, guys. I'm paying the price now, of course, but you live and you learn. So thanks for watching, guys. Please watch the next video. Sorry this one's so late to come out, but I appreciate all of you for sticking around and checking us out on our YouTube channel. See you later.